And so I want you to imagine, I'll make it like a little joke here, that there's two types of people in the world, two types of people on the path. There's professionals and there's jokers. Okay? And let me explain what I mean by this. So, if you want a house built here in the greater, Carbondale, Aspen area, you're going to call a professional. Right? You're going to call Chad, and he'll show up with his hammer, his tool bags, a couple nails, and for $1 million, you'll build them a home, right? Yeah, and so, when I was with my teacher, we spent a lot of time building things. I mean, just from the moment I met him, basically I was answering an ad in a paper, I was actually going to be a day laborer for him. 20 years later, I was still there. And he asked me this question. He said, "Do you know how to work?" And I said, "Yeah." "Yeah." And he said, "Good. Get your water bottle and grab the shovel. And I want you to dig some holes here." And we're building a foundation just for like a shed. It was actually a shed for photovoltaics, for solar electric for the retreat center. But at that time, the retreat center consisted of a home and a couple little sheds. And so I got down in this hole, and it was a hole that someone else had begun. But with day labor, day laborers are oftentimes, I'll just use this word, jokers. They're transient. They're like confused. They're like, I just want a day of work and I want to get paid, and then I'm going to get the hell out of here. Maybe I'll go out drinking or something fun. And so someone else started this hole. And within me, I knew I was going to finish it. And when you dig in Colorado, there's a little bit of dirt, a lot of rocks, and pretty soon I just got down to shale. And if you've ever dug with a rock bar, which is just a big piece of steel, and you're just like hitting the earth, and like you're just basically knocking off like spoonfuls of a shale or rock or whatever the hell it is. And it's really, if you work a rock bar for 10 minutes, you're like, this sucks. If you work it for 8 hours, you don't want to come back. You don't want to come back. But I fell into my teacher, and I didn't know who he was or what he was at the time. Like in a, just like a practical man. I just didn't know who this guy was, but I just felt there was something there about him. He seemed just to have just this presence of silence and freedom. And yet also he was really clear. He was like, "You're the guy digging the hole, Craig." And there was no messing around. But I just felt something, that said, I want to come back. So at the end of the day, when there's that moment where, I could be the joker who's like, yeah, give me the, $8 an hour, 8 times 8, that's $64, right? Did I do my math right? $64 a day digging a hole. Do you want to get paid? And, you can be on your way. Or do you want to show up and work? And my body was like, God, I don't want to come back. But my heart I said, yeah, I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you in the morning. And I went home and I lived in this house with a bunch of hippies, and most of us were doing day labor, so with a bunch of hippies, a bunch of guys, a bunch of dogs, maybe a couple girls, a lot of weed, and just like, everyone's getting high and this and that, and we talk about our day. And they're like, and they were asking me, well, where did you go? And I just didn't know what to say. I knew I went somewhere special. But I just kind of stayed silent. I stayed silent. The other guys were talking about how the jobs they went to were, like a rough place. Maybe they were spraying paint or putting up insulation or any kind of terrible work that no one would really want to do. And a lot of times when you do day labor and you work in the trades, it's kind of a rough circuit. But I knew that this was actually my first day as a day laborer. Before that, I worked, like in bakeries and restaurants and silly jobs like that. But right away, God gave me this gift. And I knew something was there, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. And so I just came back. And I think, midway through that second day, I asked, this strange, mysterious fella named David, what do you do? What do you do? And he said, I teach people how to meditate. And then something woke up within me again. And he looked directly at me and he said, do you want to learn how to meditate? Do you want to know how to still the mind? And I just looked at him and smiled. Said yes. And so he said, well, be at my house at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. And so I showed up. All my friends, the night before, they were passing the bowl around, getting super high, make it fun, maybe drinking 40s, having a good time. I mean, And so when Saturday night came, I was never really crazy into drinking or smoking, but, I'd do a little something on a Saturday night. But when Saturday night came, I said, no. I'm getting up at 6, and I'm going to my teacher's house. I'm going to learn how to meditate. And for the first year or so, I was his only student. Every Sunday morning we'd meet. Now he also was teaching in New York and Los Angeles, so he'd fly and do retreats. He had taught, at that time for, 25 years or something. But he had just moved to Durango. I happened to just move to Durango. And so then it was every Sunday morning. And we'd sit for 3 hours. And then over the next period of, 20 years, all kinds of people came. We built a temple, we built retreat houses, we built greenhouses, gardens, trails, all kinds of things. But all kinds of people came. And a lot of people came just to get high. Because he was a very powerful teacher. There was times when we'd sit in meditation and people would literally hit the floor because the intensity of the light was so great. The transmission was just so intense. But a lot of people would come either to get high, or they'd come and they'd experience the teachings, and then they'd get confused. Confused by being a joker. And don't let me fool you here. I very well, easily, could spend my life being an absolute joker. If you see me hanging out with my kids or just messing around town, you're not going to run into a living saint. You're probably going to run into a joker. But with the path, with my teacher, I knew this was my life. This was my life. And so I gave everything to it. Everything. I didn't come just to get high. I didn't come and just stick around a little bit. I came for a couple decades. He trained me. Every day I was with him, he trained me. He looked at me in a dead serious way and said, Craig, what is your life about? What's it about? He didn't use the word joker, but he knew, because when I showed up at his house, I'll have a funny story. I showed up with purple pants, some filthy, skateboarding t-shirt and dreadlocks. He probably looked at this kid like, who the hell's this guy? He knew I was a joker. He knew it. In my personality, I was all over the place. But when he looked in my heart, he saw this fire. And so he believed in me. And I kept showing up, and so I showed him, this is what my life's about. This is what my life's about. And so all of us have this choice, on the path. Don't kid ourselves that, only we're on the path because we're in a little meditation place and the people outside aren't on the path. Everyone's on the path. Everyone. But the question for you when you leave this retreat is, am I a professional or am I a joker? And which one am I? Which one am I? Am I a pro? And by pro, I mean, am I showing up fully with my heart? Am I showing up fully with my heart? Am I giving everything? Am I sincere? Doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. Hell, if you want to know about mistakes, read the story of my life. Constant mistakes, constant failure. But a professional will learn. Joker just keeps doing the same thing. And a lot of pros, what they are is they failed so many times. They said, I just can't keep failing anymore. I have to do something different. I have to do my life different. I have to do it different. It's too painful to listen to the wrong voice in your head. It's too painful to define yourself by fear or doubt or anger or even just, this human body. So many of us, they just get confused by their body. They get confused by their career, their job. You have to look in the mirror and say, oh, look, there's God. There's God looking back at me. God seeing God. Beauty seeing beauty. Truth seeing truth. And so as a professional, you're saying, I'm dedicating my life to being a goddess. And a pro means you make your life about that. You make your life about that. You see in your heart, I know I'm a goddess. But I'm acting, kind of crazy. And so I need to work with my crazy. I need to work with my sadness, my anger, my guilt, my fear, my confusion, my small limiting identity that I have. Or I've identified as this person or that person. I'm saying I'm walking in the direction of the truth. I'm walking in the direction of the truth. And all of us, we have a life, we have a choice. You know, I have this great group of friends. It's interesting. They're all like a bunch of pirates, you know, they're all like wild and crazy. And they live out in the desert. They want to be pro climbers. So that's what they do. They live at the bottom of the crag. They live there. They dedicate their life to it. Some days they don't eat. You know, because the store is, 55 miles away or something. And when I go out there and I'm with them, that's what they do. They live to climb. They've given their life to that. I have great respect for them. They live their life in a tent. They live to climb. They're following their truth. And so all of us here on planet Earth, we have this question, what is our truth? What is our truth? And don't, turn it into, being a goddess means that you have to be some, great healer wearing, a flowing gown and, rub crystals all day. Let a goddess be, you show up with love with your 7-year-old daughter. You see the beauty in her. If she drives you crazy and you find yourself grumpy or frustrated or, at the end of your rope, you call upon grace and you say, Lord, will you live through me? Will you speak through me? Will you love through me? Will you show me how to respond with love to this child? Will you show me how to respond with love to my wife? If you're walking around in the desert as a geologist and you're fully identified with being a geologist, can you open your mind, can you open your heart to the absolute truth while you're stumbling around in the desert? While you're stumbling around in the desert. While you're building a home, can you see you're building a home for God? This is what I'm doing. I'm building a home for God. And so whatever your normal everyday life is, you show up with a big open heart, an empty mind, and you allow this divinity to flow through you. To flow through you. When I was young, and with my teacher, I thought, being a good student of the Dharma meant I was the first one in the meditation hall, the last one to leave. I was the one always at my teacher's side, doing it exactly as he said. That's what I thought, it meant to be a good student of the Dharma. But that was just the convention. That was just like the way we interacted. And in a real sense, in the beginning, that was just a big expression of my spiritual superego. Just trying to show up and serve and serve and serve. It was funny, no one had to teach me how to serve. I just fell into, like he was guru, I was disciple. He never said that. He never, wanted to be a guru or anything like that, but he was. And no one taught me how. Just something lit up and I said, this is how I show up and serve. But eventually, over the years, he showed me how to serve the truth. And through serving the truth, you don't walk around, with hushed tones and always acting spiritual and rubbing crystals and this and that. You serve the truth by emptying your heart, emptying your mind, doing your healing work, and letting this thing be a clear conduit of grace. You let go of your mind. Say, Lord, you be my thoughts. You be my heart. You be the love. You show me, you lead me, you speak through me. You surrender the human to the divine. That's what we're doing here on this path. We're surrendering the human to the divine. To the divine. You get yourself comfortable. So I invite you to allow awareness to turn inward. Taking some deep, full belly breaths. Relaxing the body. And I invite you to relax your mind. So many of us on the spiritual path, we get overly serious. So relax any seriousness in your mind. And you're opening yourself. In a receptive way. So we are receiving the silence of this room. Receiving this gentle presence of love that's here. We are receiving our divinity. Receiving the goodness of your heart. This gentle, awake, aware presence. Giving your mind permission just to fall away. You're noticing. Noticing your innate goodness. So just breathing, feeling. Noticing this quiet, pure presence of heart. And you may notice the body do this thing and that thing. Sometimes it shakes or trembles, or sometimes the mind has thoughts about this or that. And I invite you just to breathe. just to feel. And connect with this quiet, awake, aware presence. It's a presence that's so pure, so innocent. It includes everything. It includes the body, it includes sounds, it includes sensations. It includes thoughts, but it doesn't bother itself with any of it. So deep, full belly breaths. Just feeling into the quietude of your heart. Innocent, spacious. It's free. Your heart, God's heart. One heart. Your purity, God's purity. One purity. Your innocence, God's innocence. One innocence. Deep, full belly breaths, just breathing, feeling. I invite you to smile. Smile at your goodness. Smile at your beauty. Smile. So we're just breathing in, breathing out. Connecting. To that which is good. That which is holy. And if you have anything within your body, within your nervous system, that's struggling, I invite you to bring it forward into this presence of love. There's room here in this space of love, in this space of freedom. There's room for a judging mind, a discursive mind. There's room for silly thoughts. There's room for old heartache, for sadness, for anger. There's room for fear, loneliness, broken heart. This space of love, this space of divinity has room for everything. Everything. So we're taking deep, full belly breaths. Just breathing in and breathing out. And just smiling. Smiling at our human self, our human body, our human mind, our human emotions. We're smiling from the space of divinity at the pain of the past, at how we've been in our human self, the silly roads we've walked down. And we're inviting any of that old pain, that old confusion, into this presence of love. Into this presence of love. Just breathing in and breathing out. Just surrendering more and more deeply and fully into this quiet, open-hearted, inclusive presence that you are. And some of you may be noticing this light in your heart, very subtle light, is vibrating with divinity. It's a feeling of gentleness and innocence. Some of you may notice within the space of the mind this incredible otherworldly brilliance, like a cosmic awareness. And so your job is simply to open and be receptive of what's here. Be receptive of what you are. God on earth. So I invite you, whatever you're noticing, just to relax. Relax the body, yeah. Relax it all. Say, what's here? What is this presence that I am? What is this presence? Whether you're feeling on the very edge of the absolute, surrender. Surrender more. Whether you're feeling yourself struggling with thought and a old pain from the past, surrender. Surrender more. Open yourself to the hugeness of what you are. The hugeness. And so all of us are doing the same. Breathing, relaxing. Giving ourselves permission, to open. To breathe, to open, and let go. Let go. So we're just taking deep breaths, all of us. And just letting go. Opening to this brilliance which is here. This intensity of light, this intensity of love. Breathing in, breathing out. And just smiling, relaxing. Giving ourselves permission to be held. To relax the body. To open into your divinity. We're letting go of a judgmental mind, letting go of any resistance in the nervous system, and experiencing ourselves as vast, spacious, cosmic love. Breathing in, breathing out. For some of you, you may feel this heat within your consciousness. Heat is good. Just allowing whatever is impure, that which is confused, that which is resistant. We're just allowing it to burn up. In the light of your own heart. I am God, and God is here upon the earth. All of us are waking up to this truth. I am God. And God is here upon the earth. So you're letting go into this brilliance that you are. We're breathing, feeling the purity of our nature. Can you feel this absolute brilliance? The space of the mind, the space of the heart, the belly, the pelvis, the legs, the feet. Can you experience this hugeness of divinity that you are? Everywhere. Within, without. Inside, outside, no separation. Vast, spacious light. Eternal freedom. Beautiful, luminous heart. This light, this love, this freedom is you.